אחים ואחיות יקרים, חג הפסח מתקרב, אנשים מחכים כבר שנשלח להם את החבילות שלהם. תעזרו.
Okay, good morning everybody, sorry. Okay, good morning. Today's the 10th day of the month of Nissan, and I want to say the shir, Lili Nishmas, my beloved mother, and Shabbos Yehuda, who passed away, let's see, how many years ago? 16 years ago. This day, in the middle of the night, it was Shabbos. Both of my parents passed away on Shabbos, and she should have a good Gan Eden, along with my father and all of the brother, his daughter, everyone who's in Gan Eden. They should all come back soon. Okay, today is the last 3 days of the gifts to the Mishkan, right? 10th, 11th, and 12th of Nisan, with the 12 days of the consecration of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle in the desert, biblically 3,333 years ago, and every day a different one of the princes of the tribes brought a gift to the Mishkan, and today is the chance was the gift of Dan, the tribe of Dan. Dan is a very, very interesting tribe. It means judgment, and it's the only name that Yaakov Avinu gave to 2 of his children. He gave it to the boy Dan and to the girl Dinah. He didn't do that with any of the other names of the tribes. He didn't do like Shimon and Shimona or Levi and Leviah. He just did Dan and Dinah. And that's unusual because Dan, we try to run away from Dan, meaning Dan means judgment and justice. And we always ask Hashem to do everything with mercy and compassion, because according to justice, none of us really belong here, and none of us could, survive here according to justice, because according to justice, as soon as you do something wrong, you're out of the game. But Hashem is compassionate. Nevertheless, Yaakov Avinu wanted us to focus on justice and judgment. So here's a prayer that we say. This is coming from the Sephardic Siddur, elucidating the power of today. He says, just like Hashem, you stood and you redeemed the Jewish people from Egypt with the merit of Dan. Because what did you do? You judged our enemies. Danta et dinam. You caused our judgment to be heard in Shemaim, and the enemies of the Jewish people were found guilty, and therefore, because of that, we were redeemed. So therefore, we're asking you, Hashem, lift up the power of Mashiach ben David, your servant, whose mother comes from Dan. The mother of Dinah of David, Nitzevet, was from the tribe of Dan. And we know that we have a teaching that Mashiach ben David, the final Mashiach, is going to have a father from Yehuda and a mother from Dan. Now, how that's going to be, we're not necessarily going to see a Sefer Yuchsin, a genealogy chart, but Hashem knows the root of the soul. The root of the soul of Mashiach has to be connected to Yehuda Malchus and to Dan. Dan means judgment, justice, fairness, evaluating a person's life, Yirat Shamayim. And so Yadin Bagoyim ala Giviyot. So Hashem, we're asking you to judge the Goyim, judge the nations of the world, and punish them for all the suffering that they gave to us. I saw today, I didn't watch it, but I saw today a heading of a clip that said, why does everyone hate the Jews? It makes no sense. It's clearly from Hashem. Hashem does not want us to assimilate, and therefore He created the unnatural situation in the world called anti-Semitism. And by the way, that a Semite is not just a Jew. A Semite, Arabs are also Semites. But why does the world hate the Jewish people? Because Hashem made it like that. Why? Hashem is judging us. Hashem is judging us, judging them. Right? It says that why did Leah give the name Reuven to her firstborn? Because she said, Hashem, Re'u, look and see, pay attention to the difference between me, my son, and the son, my firstborn son, and the firstborn son of my mother-in-law, Rivka, who she was never privileged to meet, but that her firstborn son was Esau. So judge the Goyim, judge the nations of the world, and bring a fair judgment, And that's how you're going to bring Mashiach. That's tefillah, the prayer, the request that we make, part of the request that we make when we're reading the Nasi of Dan. Now, the Nasi of Dan, the name of the Nasi is Achiezer ben Amishadai. These people, he has an amazing name. Achiezer means, I want to help my brother. I want to help my brother. And Amishadai means, my God, my nation is absolutely unified with God. And so that's done. That was the fact that Don wanted to point out, that I'm a helper. Therefore, by the way, parenthetically, our job today is to help as much as we can. And Amishadai, which means paying attention to the fact that every single Jew is coming from a nation that's attached to God in our roots. There are people who don't know. There are people who have the big Sahara. There are people who don't even know they're Jewish. There are people who are trying their best with their circumstances. But that's our nation, that we're intertwined, we're connected with godliness, with God. And so that's the tribe of Dan. We're going to try today to judge everyone favorably. Everyone we have to judge favorably, because Dan l'kav schus, right? The mitzvah is in Pirkei Avos. We talk about this all the time. We have to judge favorably. And in the halachas of Shmiras Halashon, Lashon Hara, when you learn your daily halachot, so you're learning now, they're giving over the halachot of not paying attention to, not believing rechilus. Rechilus means someone comes over to you and says, so-and-so said such and such about you. You're not allowed to believe that, even if they said it in front of that person who spoke, and even if everybody knows that that's true, and even if it's public and all of that, we're not allowed to believe rechilus. Rechilus means slander. We can't believe stories that one person says about another. And so we have to we have to judge favorably and make up all kinds of excuses. It's a very hard mitzvah for us to do, because all of us are coming now. The soul of the Jew now is coming from the place of Malchus. Malchus means royalty, means I think I'm a princess. Now, the thing is that you also think that you're a princess. And so I think I have the right to, pass you on the highway and drive like a nut because I'm a princess. But you also think the same way. So we're all, this Malchus is conflicting here. The royalties, all the princesses and princes and kings and queens are all feeling their power, but they have to learn that the other person is also a prince and also a princess. Okay, so that's done. Today we're judging favorably. We're going to ask God, please let me judge every Jew favorably, no matter how annoying, no matter how pressurized. Before Pesach, there's all kinds of pressures. No matter what, I'm going to judge favorably. Yesterday I was in Osher Ad with a good friend of mine, and we walked in 45 minutes before the store opened, because it opened 45 minutes early, and we did it on purpose because I want to avoid the crowds. And what's the crowd? The crowd is just literally getting your agala, your shopping cart, through the aisles, because Baruch Hashem, there's so many people, and everybody's, it's last minute, and everybody's flowing high with Pesach goods, and we were all laughing and saying we have to judge each other favorably. We have to be nice to each other, because we're all in this together. So that's today, the energy of today. Try to help other people, and if you can't help, at least judge them favorably, and recognize that Hashem, when we judge each other favorably, every time you judge favorably somebody, Hashem is taking out an enemy of the Jews, because He's judging them harshly. Because that's exactly what Pesach is all about, that Hashem finally judged the Egyptians for all the years of torment, and He got rid of them. So that's what Hashem is going to do. Now Hashem is going to get rid of all the enemies. Let's judge. Let's try to. I'm not going to say put yourself into a nisayon. I'm not going to say put yourself into a test and find somebody who's annoying to you and just like hang around them until you get annoyed with them and then judge them favorably. No, I'm not going to say that. But if Hashem Yitbarach, if He happens to put in your way somebody who's annoying, say, I'm judging them favorably so that you should judge our enemies harshly. And that when Mashiach comes. Okay, let's just a little bit of a teaching from the Haggada of the Holy Rabbi, the Yanuka, Reb Shlomo Yehuda Be'eri. This is from yesterday. We were learning from the Haggada. This is from Darchei HaGeula in the Haggada, and it's number 8, number Chet. You remember the story about Moshe Rabbeinu? And thank you, Shifra. That's your name, Shifra Pua? What an amazing name. From Arizona, from Phoenix, Arizona. It's nighttime, and you're, wow, amazing. And hi, Ayana, as always, we're wishing you only good things. Moshe Rabbeinu. Do you remember the story about God tells Moshe Rabbeinu, okay, now you're the leader, go back to Egypt and redeem the Jewish people. And for 7 full days, Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, listen, I'm not a confrontational person at all. I usually crumble like after 2 seconds of arguing with somebody. That's just my nature. How does Moshe Rabbeinu argue with God for 7 full days? And it's not like he just kept saying, no, 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 no. He gave reasons. So Rav explains here what was the reason that he gave. He said, Moshe Rabbeinu was very, very afraid that the Jewish people, because he knew that it was early. We were supposed to stay in Egypt for 400 years. And it was only 210 years. Actually, at that point, 209 years, because it took a whole year till we came out. And Moshe Rabbeinu knew that it was early. So he was afraid that we were not fully cooked in a good way. And he said, the last time I was in Egypt, all those years ago, because now Moshe Rabbeinu was 80. So at least 60 years earlier, when he was in Egypt the last time, he saw that there was arguments, Jews against Jews, and Lashon Hara, Jews against Jews, and they threatened him. 2 Jews threatened him that, he saved their life, and then they threatened him to squeal on him and tell on him to the Pharaoh. So what is that? So Moshe Rabbeinu said, maybe they're just not ready to be redeemed. They've been in the Egyptian exile for such a long time. What if they're not ready to be redeemed? And what if when I get there, they're going to start saying Lashon Hara about me again, and they're not going to accept me again, and they're going to make machlokas arguments again? What? I don't want to be part of that, Hashem, if they're not ready. And I already have a history with them. My brother Aaron, he's in Egypt all these years, and they love him. Let him be. But they have a history with me that they knew I was raised in the palace of the Paro. They have a suspicion against me, and they already said Lashon Hara about me, and they already threatened me. Why should I be the one? Let Aaron go, and he won't, stir up any controversy. Moshe Rabbeinu said, now listen, this is so shayach, it's so important for us to know, because we know that right now we are in a time that's very pregnant for Mashiach to come. So he said, Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid, Shema yimashech galut me'ata lechaf olamem shanim shana achirim. He was afraid that if there's no peace within the Jewish people, then the Golus will extend another 20 years, or chas v'shalom, or another 40 years, chas v'shalom. Because originally he told them that he tried to help them, but they said bad about him, until Hashem said, no, this is it. They're not going to fail. All the people who wanted all the people who were influencing them badly are gone, and they're trying very hard. And Dasan Aviram, actually, Dasan, like Datan, the first letter, last letter is like Dan, like the tribe of today. They are actually leaders in the Jewish people, and they're actually taking hits. In other words, when the Jewish people can't work enough, they are overseers, and they're the ones who get punished. So they have a little bit of Mesiras Nefesh. In the end, Dasan Aviram didn't make it in terms of the end of this story, all the way 40 years later. But now they're okay. So Hashem said, I'm promising you that Hashem promised Moshe Rabbeinu that no negativity, no delay, nothing bad would come now from Moshe Rabbeinu's coming back to Egypt and redeeming the Jewish people in the Kachaya. And so we have to know that, right? It says that it says that the night of Mitzrayim, the night of Yetzias Mitzrayim, we could say this to Seder. The pasuk says it's not written in the Haggada, but we could say it. In the Jewish world, among all the Jews, when the Egyptians were screaming and crying, when the Makas Mechoros, when the plague of the killing of the firstborn was happening, none of the dogs were barking. Now you know that dogs bark in times of death, in times of hysteria. There's all these wild dogs that are running around trying to. But when the Jewish people were redeemed that night, none of the dogs barked. And one of the meanings of that is, Chazal tell us that if a person says Lashon Hara, chas v'shalom, a person misuses the power of their speech, then they're like chas v'shalom, they're like a dog. And so that night that no dogs barked, the siman, the sign was Hashem was showing Moshe Rabbeinu. You see, everybody is being unified. Everyone's being together. No one's saying lashon hara. Everyone is judging everybody favorably. Everyone is trying their best to to bend their ego, and to let the next person, be michubad, to honor the next person. And so, we have to remember that it's very, very hard. I say this to my students all the time, that whenever you want to see when it's a school is a good time for Mashiach to come, you have to see when the Israelis make elections. Every time, I've been noticing this for decades upon decades. Whenever something special is about to happen, meaning it's a time where, like now, it's Nissan, Geula, or a specific year that we see that all the miracles are happening. What is what happens? The other side makes elections here in Israel. Now, elections here in Israel is like a green light, chas v'shalom, God forbid, for lashon hara, because everybody feels like they can say anything about anybody, because all these are people who are, famous people, or they're public people, and they think that people can think that they can say, and it makes all kinds of arguments and all kinds of lack of shalom whenever there's elections here. And you see what's going on now. Now the whole government is falling apart, and no one knows who to trust. To ad kedei kach, to the point when the prime minister says he can't trust his secret service. He can't trust any of the. Nobody can trust anybody, and so it's a time of potential for geula. So for us, between us, none of us are politicians, and none of us are on this world stage. But we all have a small little world that we're in charge of. That's our malchus, our kingdom, our kingship. And in our little kingdom, in our little kingship, we have our challenges, and that is done comes chus today, done judge favorably, and keep our mouths pure. And how many times are you going to try to brush your teeth before you eat the last chametz, right? Okay, this year's a halachic problem about brushing teeth on Shabbos, but we want to say, as best we can, to be the best that we can, and only Hashem knows what that is. Hashem knows that a person who's by nature confrontational and argumentative, such a person has a harder test than a person who's more peace-loving. And my mother, she should rest in peace, who I said in the beginning of the shir, and I'll end the shir with this, that she was the most unconfrontational person. She was the most peace. Both my parents. My father's yard site is next week. They were both very, very peace-loving people. Ad kedei kach, to the point where that's what we wrote on their tombstone, how peace-loving they were, and how because of that had no enemies and were very beloved by everyone. And we should try our best within our little malchus, our little kingship, our little kingdom, to be as gracious and as mechabed everyone. And believe me, I'm talking to myself much more than I'm talking to any of you, because I don't even know who you are on the thing. And so let me wish you a successful day, a good day. Today's Tuesday, Yom Shlishi, here in Eretz Yisrael. We have a warm day. The weather here is warm today. Everyone's opening their windows and doors, and in my backyard here, there's a car cleaning service by a whole bunch of yeshiva boys. They come always this year, this time before Pesach, and in the parking lot in front of my house, there's a whole bunch of lineup of cars, and these guys are vacuuming and polishing and washing, and that's also a challenge, to get through that. We should all fulfill all of our challenges, and everyone who needs refuah shlema should have refuah shlema. All the tzaddikim should be strong and should succeed completely this year in their mission. Okay, have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you for coming online, and thank you for listening on the YouTube, and have a great day.